Welcome back into the Bobcat Sports Showcase. For Harrison Hightower, winning hasn't been easy, but it is definitely coming frequently. The redshirt junior grew up with a growth defect in one of his legs that had him in braces at an early age. Kyle Bratke tells us how Hightower tore out of those braces and is now tearing it up on the mat.
Most Division I wrestlers had success at a young age and almost immediately after stepping on the mat, but that wasn't the case for Bobcat 165-pounder Harrison Hightower. Hightower had to overcome a birth defect to get to where he is today.
Around age 7, my parents kind of noticed that I would run with a limp, like on the soccer field and stuff like that. Went in to get a couple checkups and stuff like that, and found out that I had something called leg Calvert-Perthes disease, which basically kind of hindered my right hip bone from like growing, so it made my right leg shorter than my left leg. Kind of significant enough where I wasn't be able to run right and stuff like that. Kind of messed up my back a little bit.
Leg Calvert-Perthes affects 1 in every 1,200 children and occurs when blood supply is temporarily interrupted to the ball part of the hip joint. Doctors attempted multiple treatment methods but were unable to come up with a permanent solution.
They put me in these braces. It kind of resembled like Forrest Gump braces where it had my legs spread out real wide, and I had to play sports with them. I had to play baseball and soccer. You know, I had to do everything with those on, and they found that those didn't work, so then I had a couple operations where they put in a metal rod inside my hip bone and tried to extend it. But you know, that didn't really work either, so you know, I've kind of always just had this discrepancy leg-wise in my hip.
Much like Forrest Gump, Hightower received some ridicule for his leg braces, and the braces also provided a challenge when trying to play sports.
I was kind of always known as a kid that walked funny, you know, people would kind of make fun of me a little. My friends just give me a hard time, things like that. But, you know, maybe not quite as fast as everyone. You know, I kind of had to, you know, adapt. And like I said, playing sports, I had to run with a brace on my leg, which obviously, you know, made me stand out like a sore thumb. Wasn't really the best athlete.
Despite winning 3 Ohio State titles and being one of the most highly touted recruits coming out of high school, Hightower's first wrestling match is forgettable, to say the least.
This wrestling match was pretty bad. My dad's always kind of a go-getter, and he had me wrestle a kid in the all-star division, and I think I probably got pinned within the first 25 seconds, something like that. You know, it took me to get a milkshake, comfort me, like said I didn't have to do it anymore.
Since that match, Hightower has overcome his disease and been able to become so successful by developing his own style.
I've had to adapt a bit, and from that, you know, I've kind of not developed just a style, but kind of just unique to my own, where, you know, I wrestle a little bit different than everyone. Which, you know, it's kind of made me, I'd like to think, a little more difficult to wrestle at points because people don't, you know, aren't used to wrestling someone like that. Hightower
is known as one of the best top wrestlers in the country and is currently 3rd in the nation with 9 falls. And Ohio coach Joel Greenlee thinks this is because of the style Hightower has developed over the years.
I think that might be one of the reasons why he's so good on top and, you know, with arm bars and legs.
Greenlee also can't say enough about what overcoming this disease says about Hightower as a wrestler and a person.
I think it says a lot for a couple reasons. One is he's never said one word about it as far as, hey, I can't run, I don't want to do this, I can't do that. He does all the lifts we do. We go on a 5-mile, 7-mile run, whatever it is. Hightower does that as well.
Accomplishing everything Hightower has seemed like an unattainable dream, and one that he never even imagined coming true.
He would have told me then, or told my parents even then, they'd been like, oh, that's nice, but you know, that's probably not his future. But yeah, no, I never really expected anything like this, but you know, I've learned to deal with it and, you know, do the best I can with what I got.